All right.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. The regular meeting of December 4th of the Conservation Commission is called to order. First is on the roll call. We'll start on our right.
Michelle Fitzpatrick, secretary.
Ray Rafferty, vice chair.
Ann Schmidt, member.
Larry Dunn, chair.
Tom Olson, member.
And now the next first item on the agenda, or second item, is the approval of minutes from November 6th, which was in the agenda or the handout.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, additions, corrections? All right.
All
So then, without objection, the meetings are approved. Public communications, I do not see, oh, wait a minute, I see Kristen now.
Yeah, she is.
Let the record show that Kristen joined via Zoom at 5:02. Hopefully. All right,
Hi, Kristen.
your audio working?
Huh? Yeah, there we go. I was here before you started, but you couldn't see me, so here I am.
Okay, that's fine. We'll mark you as here.
She was
Thank you.
there before 5:02. That's just what Larry found
yeah.
her.
Well, it's a,
So how we can do it too, if you want. Kristen, did you have any comments for the minutes?
No, because I was not at the last meeting, so I'm not voting or anything on that, so.
I'll
let that go.
I'll put her as abstain.
Abstain.
Perfect. Yep.
Mhm.
all right, so as there are no public to communicate, I guess we'll move right along to the report of chair. I got a couple of things. One is, we're into the every few weeks, the state eelgrass task force met on November 9th. And I think we're meeting again this week. Making progress, nothing substantial to report. So as things progress, I think the link is still the same. It's out there. If people are interested, they can track and see I guess the outline is being fleshed out, the information being added every couple of weeks. I do have another one that I did is I reached out to Kimberly Drelich of the Day, and this was subsequent to the POCD article she wrote.
The 29th.
Yeah, the 29th. So I said that she might want to do the conservation part as well as the development part. So she agreed, and I got an interview with her on Thursday. What I would like to do is I've got some thoughts on how to approach that. Why didn't that come up? There it comes. Let me share this with you. I wanted to talk to you guys before I talk to her because I'm going to make an offer. Zoom.
Oh, you don't like it?
You may, I think you'll just so much enjoy it. Share screen. Conservation. Okay. So I kind of wrote up, I guess you can see that. Hopefully I can make it a little bigger. Okay. So my thought was to start off, as I said, is that, there's a lot of development in the plan, and that we really want to focus on and be a key partner with development as part of this next PLCD cycle. That over the last, well, I guess since the last PLCD, there's been the formation of a lot of new local citizen groups. And I said, we've formed a relationship with a bunch. I listed about 9, I think, in here, that we're either formally or participating in. And I said that the other thing is, in addition to community involvement, we're really doing cross commission involvement as well. So I've, as you know, reached out to P Z, reached out to the ECD to work together on that. And now this is my first question to you guys. So we had the 6 major objectives. I did add social justice. I thought that would be a good thing to add.
A different thought.
What's that?
Different thought.
Oh, geez.
Actually, yeah, so you've got a couple, no big deal, just got
Yeah.
a couple font things going on there.
Yeah, don't worry about the font. So my question isn't fonts. My question is, I was going to make a suggestion that she may want to do a series on each one of our priorities and to link her up with each one of you, which is why your names are there. If you do not want to do that, we'll take the names off. So I thought I would ask you first before I signed you up for this. The other thought was to maybe also link in or reference that there's a staff member associated with each one of ours as well. But any thoughts on that? Anyone
Well,
have?
as the first guy on the list, I have no problem with it. I think it's a great idea. I'm willing to, I've talked to Kimberly before, so it's not an issue.
Okay,
I'm fine with it too.
Okay.
Happy to speak with her.
right?
Yep.
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 And Kristen from the Peanut Gallery?
Yeah, sure.
All right, very good. And the thought is that, we've been working on outlines. So it's not, we don't have to give anything definitive. It's just trying to get her, my intent would be to get her to sign up that every month or 2 months or something, like we're trying to do, is focus on one aspect, for the conservation point of view, that would wind up in the plan. So we'll see how that works, if she bites on that. I also wanted to put out there that any citizen can get involved with the commission in our get involved page, which, good news or bad news, leads back to you. Rather
Oh,
than
yeah.
our names aren't in there, Dave's names.
That's true.
So that's out there on the webpage, and so I thought I would get her to put.
Is that in the Greater Groton webpage? We didn't get
It
that
is,
yet.
it is
We're not
not.
there.
No, that's why I think you need to put the actual web page in your, if you're gonna pass that outline along to her,
Yeah,
have the,
yeah, I
have the link.
here.
Oh, you hyperlink it, okay.
It's a hyperlink, yeah. So that is there. So yes, I was gonna do that and provide the actual link. I guess I just said this, working outlines. And this is what I just said, series of articles, et cetera, et cetera. And I took yours since it was
Oh.
late. So I said, if that's okay, I just said example draft is, the kind of outline of stuff we're doing, again, to try and get her interested. And we're gonna get to that later, hopefully later in the meeting.
Well, were you gonna plan to cover, where, is it down the list then?
No,
So
I,
Tom's the
this
first
was,
guy, or you're gonna
this was a
cover
kind of a
ways-
kickoff.
Oh, okay, okay.
And said and this is like the overall thing, and if she's interested,
Ah,
kinda
to
line
do
up
modular
to
ones.
do
Okay, got it,
modular ones on each one.
Got it.
Because we're not all ready necessarily to do
Right.
it, nor is it the timing, we don't want it. We want to stretch it out so that we can better influence the actual P O C D draft.
Waste
You're thinking.
management.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, I'm just thinking, the timing with that is you want to have it, like well, what's the purpose? Is this try to get more people involved with being interested in giving feedback, or is that, is that
Well,
what
that's
the?
one of the
is
objectives.
that- Okay,
The other one is to maintain a focus on conservation aspects of the plan. And so all of a sudden, things aren't like, well, we're not gonna talk about that, or that's not gonna be included. So I want to get a little,
I think we're doing a little PR push here.
little PR.
I was shocked when I saw that in the front page of the day,
Yeah.
and I kind of pushed
Yeah, he
Larry
did.
here.
He nudged me.
I nudged
nudged
him
me.
as far as just for full disclosure here. And I think it's a great idea that Kimberly, went forward with it. I guess she came and talked to you guys. I don't know. She didn't use your name, but your
Reiner's
bosses
name
were
was-
there.
Probably use John's name.
Yeah, John
Deb-
and
was
Deb.
quoted.
And Deb, I
And-
haven't seen you.
And that's fine, because that was, and that was more on the development side, which, and I said, we should have our fair share. That's.
Well, it's, the name is conservation and development.
So,
So the only thing I'm gonna say, and I've said this before, is remember, this effort is being led by
By
planning and
P&Z.
zoning, so.
Yeah.
Should've-
Before you get a little, this is all fine, and I think all of these topics, no matter what, are really important to highlight as work that the group is doing, but. It may turn out that planning and zoning may not include some of these here, so we just have to
And-
be okay with that.
Well, whether we're clear or not, we're gonna lobby, I've been lobbying.
Yeah, I know, yep.
And we will lobby, and the community may be a little bit more, they want, one of the major things in this one is community involvement.
Yep.
So when the
Right.
community
It totally
says,
is, yeah.
I want that stuff.
Yep.
Now, I'd like to know if the community says, I don't really
Right.
care about some of the stuff, well, that may change our view on it, but right now is, these are, none of these things are things that we have not heard from the community.
Right.
Right? I mean, they got more granular about trees and a few other topics than we did.
And I'll say one, sorry, one last thing. I'll say one other thing too, is if you have not already checked it out, please check out Hartford's P O C D. Okay, so
Hartford.
that was one that's been brought up several times. It is much more big picture. It has 6 main categories that are part of that. And unlike the 90 tasks on the
Yep.
existing one, so you know, like this is all great. I think press is always good around this stuff, or especially all these topics here. Just again,
I mean, some of these topics can be.
they can be
combined.
combined.
You know, that-
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
The point is to get the discussions going, to see what the community interest is. And yes, I'm well aware of
All right.
P and Z, and which reminds me, I was gonna wait till later, but I do have a agreement with
Yep.
Mr. Reiner
Oh, okay,
that
sorry.
with the December kickoff would be commission kickoff. Right, or at least involvement. And I also had the same agreement with P and Z, right? And I guess the two I've worked with the most is ECD and P and Z.
Yeah.
So we wanna, I mean, December, that's the month, so. I'm
Do we have,
looking
do we have a date?
Huh?
Do we have a date?
I did not see a date, which is
Okay.
why I'm kind of bringing it up as I guess, my first follow-up for the agency. Has something been scheduled in December? I mean, if he comes back, and says, well, we're gonna do it in January, December, fine. I just don't want to let it slip through the cracks. That is multi-commissional, commission, whatever that is. All right, let me stop sharing there, get back.
the only item on that would,
Yep.
is that since she's doing a thing on conservation, we may want to just point out that we have at the 2020 open space conservation plan was out there, and that we've also taken on the goal of the 30% open space.
Yeah, as we go through this, I'll mention some of that, like the definition of open space I was gonna bring
Yeah.
up. That fact and the fact that all the work, a lot of the work, you did 90% of it. All the work that's been done on the inventory and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there are some things that I'm going to try and gain some interest on, but there's so much here is, it just can't be this little snippet article, I don't think. We'll see.
Because of what she wants to do with it.
They
It's her
can-
call.
Yeah, I know, it's the free press, I guess, they can do what they want. Let's see, so report of chair, next is report of commission. So. Ms. Schmidt and Mr. Olson were at the Kakiwik meeting?
My notes are were sent out, I think, or no.
They
yes.
got them. They got sent out. I've looked at them. I have no comments. I haven't given reports, written reports in the past, so I didn't prepare
Oh,
anything.
no, I just
She-
liked what Kristen
she-
did, so.
Uh,
She did a good job.
That was her first time, so.
No, what? Should we, you want to take a minute to go through that?
Well, I would just say that, so Sustainable Connecticut, there were 3 different sessions, I think. I actually.
Yeah,
did
there's 3
summarize
sessions
One because it was redundant.
and 3
with
options
what-
for each session.
That's right, with what Michelle Maitland had already presented in MS4. I can't say I really learned anything new from what they presented, so she did a really great job here. Sustainable Connecticut, I wanted to, since I was doing sustainability for the POCT, I wanted to just kind of see what was going on there. They had a lot of, very relevant things. One of the items was integration of sustainability into POCDs. One of the things, I'm not sure if Groton is still active with Sustainable Connecticut.
Yes,
Okay.
we are. Yep.
Yeah.
So I can give you an update on that too. So Megan's been working on that.
Good.
And all of the paperwork for the latest round, whatever it is coming up she has to have it all done by the end of the year. So
So-
she's been working on that. Yep.
So one of the things that they brought up were fellowship programs that interns that mostly go to Council of Governments,
Mhm.
but they can write up stuff. So if Megan doesn't want to do that or wants help doing that kind of thing, there's resources available to you guys to do that. Yeah, because as we went through a lot of she didn't really present about Connecticut, Sustainable Connecticut. It was more because so many people were familiar with it, it was more a question and answer thing. And Jim O'Donnell's talk, if you've heard him speak, you probably know what it's always a good talk. And I took snapshots of the slides and I have copious notes on that. I just didn't want to write all that up. And conservation.
And what's his
commissions,
topic for the record?
Climate change in
On climate
Connecticut.
change, okay.
The conservation commissions of what they could do, they just went through the things I listed here, so. Energy resilience, flood risk, there were issues about, flooding and, there was a lot on inland wetland commission as well. It wasn't just conservation commissions. And, so planting trees right along the river to help, not only with erosion, but also just, everything that trees do, filtering water, etc. Yeah, a lot of talk on riparian corridors. Yeah.
And as far as just as a continuation, while we're there is, I attended the Greenway session. Pretty much it was done by Kimberly Bradley, who's in charge of all the greenways for the state. And she just was putting out more information. I really knew everything already there, so I really didn't gain much out of it. But I did answer a bunch of questions because she's very familiar with my support for her greenway efforts there. I was in the same session on the resilience with Ann, and then I went to the national what is it? I always get this right. Nature diversity database session on that. And we went through a lot in regard to how the states developed those and for each town and everything, and that but they haven't done any really updates because they just don't have the staff at the state level anymore to be doing the updates that they're required to do. And so they're hoping to have staff in place and to do an update in 2025. But in the meantime, they're still using what they have. They have automated the system now so that if you are a developer and want to come in and see if your stuff meets to them so that they can give and then because what they in the past everybody had to come in and send a letter in to say you don't have anything. Now if you're online and you put where you're developing, and then they'll see that you're definitely not in a thing, and they'll give you the letter instantly back electronically now through the filing process, which is they spent a lot of time on that whole system because there was a bunch of developers in there.
When they come here, do you provide that information to them?
Oh, we don't provide, they're supposed to get that information
By
as
whom?
part. So for, when was the last time I did one? I did one for a wetlands permit. They had to actually go through, and get that information from the state.
Yeah, and now if they touch anything, then it can take, so they're basically saying months
Mhm.
For them to go through the process because they're so short of staff right now. And so they spent a bunch of time on that, but they said they got rid of a bunch of, all the non-stuff that they were wasting time on,
Right,
saying that
yep.
there's nothing there.
Just
They
as an
automated that
aside, if
system.
any of the town properties that we're looking at selling impinge on that database?
Oh, potentially.
Yeah, potentially you'd have to pull up that layer and look at it.
Yeah.
So that's something that our staff should do is if we go out, remember we talked about when we go out to sell the properties, identify certain things. So if we know that ahead of time or say that it's clear, I think that would be, good information to include in our
You could, yep.
RFP.
Mhm.
But there,
mean-
it's an automated process now that you can go in and
Yeah.
give the personal information. And they have all the personal information that's in our GIS system is loaded into the state thing, and so that they.
It's like the fact is in the Water Resource Protection District,
Right, yeah.
like it's stuff like that. All
Yeah.
those different lenses are really important, so.
Yeah.
You can look at, you can click on this little thing, you can look it up, but yes.
Okay. All right. The other, I guess the other at the top of this list was the SALT conference, as long as you got the floor.
Sure. There were 4 talks, I think. And I had described at least that one with the stewardship. And so his email is in here with the clippers on it. Did I describe it last time? I don't think I did.
You brought something up. I can't remember the details.
Yeah, so that was where a battery operated. So there's no like a chainsaw. It bypasses the.
Oh, you
concern
get,
about-
you get past the chainsaw
Yeah.
rule and having all, okay.
So it's battery operated. It's a very strong clipper type thing that is on an extender that just zip, and people don't have to climb up on anything and they don't have to bend down. Really.
Right, but the town would still have to approve using something like that.
Yes, still has to approve it. Again, having his advice on how New Haven approved it. He's willing to come up and talk to, so I know we talked about having one person in charge of volunteers, is that right, Michelle? So whoever that is, he's willing to train who I'm calling the trainer, that person.
Right, so we have to
If you
get
want.
that person, right?
Yeah, but he's more than happy to do that. And I just was very impressed with how easy he made it for the volunteers.
Oh,
and
that's,
fun.
well, that's exactly what we need, yeah.
Yeah, and he has hundreds of people. So, social media, all kinds of different ways of recruiting people.
And all we need is a person in charge of the volunteers.
I know. So I don't know.
Cool.
The first talk, the Wild Sea Project was just a very nice talk. It kind of, I can't help but think about the landscaping. Are we gonna talk about that? The native,
We definitely can. We,
wanna talk about it now or later, or?
Well, let's
certainly
get through
things-
let's get through these things and we'll.
Sure.
then we can talk
So
about it.
some of the things in here are relevant to what I saw in that list, and certainly, I'll just mention one point, it's all in here, but one of the things that really struck me was that to grow your trees from seed, and they have a seed bank. So it helps with genetic diversity issues. Cloned or genetic or cultivars are cloned. So you can't, you take a brand, it's the same thing over and over again. A seed is going to have a genetic diversity that might be resistant, if you had an ash tree, emerald borer, whatever, that with an ash tree that was resistant to that insect, then you could save the tree that way. But they're much more resilient. They survive, they're just better all the way around. And then on the second talk, it was all about songbirds and pollinator conservation. So again, planting natives, so important. The thing that struck me there was they were tracking birds, and some of the songbirds in the DC area, and they would preferentially go to native trees. So they are the trees that have the insects. And so the more insects, the better. She had a study with a native black cherry and a Yashidero cherry, and the caterpillars on the non-native actually died versus the ones on the native. So pin oaks are very, very good. They had the highest number of insects, over 470. And so they're supporting all the songbirds and other species. So anyway, that's what I have for now.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Let me stop that share and go back to. Okay, so other input from other commission members?
I attended a book announcement of a book being put together by Sea Grant, Connecticut Sea Grant. They just published, and the two authors, a geologist and a biologist from Sea Grant, put it together, and they made a presentation about, it's called Connecticut Sandy Shores. And the first part of it is about the geology history of Connecticut. And then the second and third parts, one is devoted to plants of Connecticut, shoreline plants, as well as animals and plants. So the one thing that I found, a lot of the plants and animals, that if you've done anything with them, a lot of them are relatively general pictures that you've types of birds you might see along the shoreline. If you've done some walks, there wasn't anything new that necessarily jumped out at you. But for the geology standpoint, it was interesting that the presentation said that in the question and answer period afterwards, that there are a lot of, for climate change, there are a lot of initiatives, eelgrass planting, different ways of planting eelgrass and trying to reestablish in old habitats eelgrass, but and so there are a variety of different ways to do it. There's another way of knocking down waves before erosion takes place with the cement globes of different size. And the right now, one of the active areas is in the Thames River in front of Connecticut College, just north of the Coast Guard Academy. They're experimenting and have set out to help cut down on erosion of their shoreline on the Thames River. And he mentioned that here is something that's being experimented, I think, over on Mason's Island. There are also, the yacht club is trying to hold back their beach, and they're doing some work over there. And I think there's another place in Stonington that some of these ideas are wonderful, but you don't know if the application of that is actually going to work because of the uniqueness of the Connecticut shoreline. We are protected by Long Island. They're predominant winds, and in the summer it's mostly southwest, and therefore they affect certain shorelines that are facing southwest. In the wintertime, we have northeast winds, or northwest rather, and then that's a different fetch, a different wave energy going in different directions. And saying that not all of these can be, these new suggestions that are out there that people are trying are going to be applicable in every area. And that you actually need to study that particular area, learn something about its physical characteristics, to see what sorts of physical erosions, flooding, etc., that do go on, to see whether or not this would be applicable for that application. And so he discusses that in the book, about some of the uniqueness of our Connecticut shoreline. The book is for sale through Sea Grant, at least. You can get it there. Probably DEP is probably going to also probably sell it at their office.
So is it the focus climate change, or this climate change is part of the story?
Part of the story. The focus was, this is Ralph Lewis, who, I don't know if you, he's a retired,
Ralph, yeah.
retired state geologist.
Okay.
And teaches part-time at UConn. I've known him for a number of years. He did the history of the Connecticut shoreline and what makes our shoreline unique over anywhere else on the East Coast.
Okay.
Are we the same as other areas, or are we different? If we're different, why?
Got it. Sounds like a cool book,
Okay.
and would help us with our climate change
Yeah, I
information.
would just, we'll go look and look that up. Take a gander at it. Anything else?
Nothing that's on the agenda.
Okay.
I got one item.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, switch to the left.
The, as mentioned last week, last meeting, I was, on the, going nominated for the Complete Streets. That's all gone through now. I'm on the Complete Streets, and our first meeting will be, for organizational purposes, on December 12th at 3:30 PM. So just let you know that it's moving forward.
All right.
Congratulations, Tom. What about Kristen?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Kristen,
Kristen?
Nope, she shook her head no.
She's on mute.
Yep, she shook her head no.
I think Larry, I shared last week that last meeting that I wasn't at, I had shared the recycling thing that I went to. I don't know, Larry, did you send that out, or did people access
No.
that?
Yeah, that was part of the agenda packet last month. Yep.
Okay, so then I have nothing fresh from that.
Right, that it, going once, going twice. Okay. Now we're into old business. And I think the first topic is open space inventory and working database. I think Noah has done an update based upon your
yeah,
last input.
all the stuff that I discussed at the last meeting, I said had been submitted to Noah. He was working on it. He has completed that, and it's all posted out there and operational right now. So including our big meeting where we had what's accessible properties, that is a new column in the database.
Oh, okay, I looked for that. So,
It's there now.
so it's in the column, but it's not on the map.
Not
not
quite
yet.
yet. No, he's still trying to, it's very complicated. It's not just like
Yeah, no,
taking parcel data, like, and just taking the borders of that. So that's taking him a little bit longer to.
Yeah, but
to
it's on the matrix though.
Yes.
As far as for each of the individual parcels.
All right.
How he refines it as far as being able to pull it up at any given time.
Is it right? So you at least you put up the parcels associated
Yeah,
with accessibility.
right.
So at this point, if I think of the process that we're in sync between the working database and the
Pretty
viewer.
much. I haven't done an audit per se, but
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good. Which means we must have something we haven't done.
Not yet, no. Once he gets once he's getting much closer on the accessible one. So
Yeah.
he showed me a mock version, but it's still
yeah.
preliminary.
And he still has to do the easements.
Well, that's, yeah.
Oh,
that's what I was
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about too. That's the more complicated
That's a
part.
very complicated part. There's 80 of them to do, so. Well, it's all pretty much fat finger work.
Yeah.
That's on
Okay,
his to-do list also.
and I think the other thing was the Parks and Rec master plan. I don't know if that's part of this, that's,
The Parks and Master Plan was approved by the town council,
yeah,
so. Oh, and that's what drove me to be able to go in and do the
make change.
updates.
So we're
Yeah.
now
We're in sync with
sync
the
with the
master
Parks and
plan.
Recs as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
But we're not in sync with their regulation yet. They still need to update their
Okay.
Parks and Rec regulation. Master plan just was an inventory they used. As far as the different class categorizations, as far as community park as a mini park versus that type of stuff.
Yep.
But as far as the regulation, as far as what's open space, that's technically still out there.
It's back in that first item of what's the definition of open space? Yeah.
Well,
All right.
that's their, as long as we're using that as the protected preserved, and the
Yep.
preserved is what's in the regulation. So that's kind of important to get the regulation updated.
All
You
right,
planning on doing that?
They wanted to get through the master plan.
Okay.
And so he kind of addresses this through the Trails Coordination Task Force, which I think is coming up this week or next
This week.
This week, yeah. I'll be at that meeting. I'll prod him on that. So. But the promise was after the master plan gets.
Right,
approved.
right. So now it's finished. Now you can go to the next.
to the
thing.
next level.
Yeah,
Yep. All right,
it takes time, and he has to go
Okay.
through that through the commission too, so.
all right, very good. We have open space planning. I kind of suggesting we delete this topic because we've gone a number of months without addressing it. We've got other subsets that we address rather than this generic thing. So that'd be my suggestion for next month.
Yeah, like it's up to you, but like so if you even if you don't cover it every month, it just keeps us on a normal framework of these are all the topics here. Some months you're not gonna have, and it's fine if it says no updates on it. It's just more to make sure that if we have all, because it's harder to go back and then keep adding stuff. For the states, what's it called, Provox is really hard. And it's really, really challenging to add stuff to it. It is not user-friendly whatsoever. So that's why I know. Does that surprise you? Anyways,
Yeah.
but that's why that's why when we had first done this, we kind of set with these set topics with the understanding that some months we're not going to talk about it, and that's totally fine.
All right, well, I mean, because we've added PLCD and that's going to be our major topic for the next
Yep.
2 years.
Well, I guess the question is, will we ever talk about open space plan? Do we expect to ever talk about open space planning again?
I would suspect so.
I would
Right.
too. That's why it's always there.
Mhm.
Even if we don't, even if the updates
Yeah.
right now are really more focused on POCD.
Yeah.
That's why and it's fine. No updates. That's easy for me.
Oh, okay. No updates.
No updates. Okay.
No updates.
This would be for example, if a developer that's like, it says, oh, I want to come this and I want to turn it over to the town, this is where it would show up.
Right. So we could be talking about this in the future.
Yes.
I relent. 4.3, PLCD. I think the first one I had in mind was Anne would present her work on social justice and open space.
Oh, well, okay. Oh, that first.
Well,
thing.
but yeah, that's the first, the second one is sustainability. So that was in the agenda.
It was in the, all right, so this is what gets challenging again because of the state. And it was
We-
emailed to each one of you.
Sorry about
And it would basically fall underneath this here.
that.
I was actually gonna put under open space planning, I was actually gonna put social
Oh.
justice under there. So that's where I was gonna put it, but that's it. And then because you added number 7 for social justice, I'm like, fine, I'll go into POCD, whatever. Either way is fine. I am very flexible. I can work with that.
Okay.
So the question for you, Ann, is do you want to talk about sustainability first or social justice?
Doesn't matter to me.
Let's see what Larry pulls up first.
Well, I had the sustainability here.
Well, I have made some slides for the front part of
Of
the
which,
lead in for that.
oh, okay.
So,
You want to do a share then?
sure.
Well, she's.
You need to log in then, yeah.
Oh, can I email them to you?
Either way, either log in or email.
Logging in is
Sorry,
easiest.
I should have done that.
Let's see.
She has the link.
The easiest way is just to go to the town of Groton website.
Yep.
Let me see if you don't think I can email it.
Now this is. Yeah, no, I have the detail chart. I don't have your presentation on that. Let's see, here's Ann. Oh, that's the one from the
This shouldn't be very big because there's not like the other
Okay.
one.
Okay.
It's with all the, sorry. When do you need stuff by? So it makes it,
Ideally, at the very latest, very latest, like that Wednesday before the
the
meeting.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Because
Thursday.
it's,
I had it in my
again,
notes.
it has to all kind of go in there and whatnot, get released in time and follow the state guidelines of. So that's why it's, I could email you guys separate and then it'll become part of the agenda packet for next month.
I usually in my head think Monday. If I know by Monday, it's not.
Yeah.
Monday's ideal.
Ideal is Monday.
That's usually when I email Larry and say, what do you got? That I don't have. So.
Both of this is Monday.
So I did not get it yet.
No,
I
I-
don't read it. I tried to have it in Monday,
Oh, it's
Wednesday morning.
the CD. Is that what it is? Okay, let me just make sure that. I have to keep going then. Helps if I have a good, better system. Here we go. Upload.
There it goes, wait, it's coming. You gotta go up first before it can come down.
It's gotta go on this
Looking at
25,000
remote
mile
driving.
journey. And depending on how
It
good
would be
the,
funny if you could see it.
Yeah.
well, you could track it. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right, now let me go to Zoom.
It's in the cloud.
It's
In the future,
It's in the
is it
future.
called?
hug the
Thing.
thing up to it and beep, it's there.
Zoom, share screen. Let's see, let's see, this is open space and
No, this is the sustainability.
sustainability. All right, I got, there it is.
I thought we
Okay.
were starting with that one, right?
I don't know.
Perfect.
All
Here we
right,
are now. like,
Where'd it go?
disappeared.
Where'd it go?
It was there.
It was there. Sustainability.
Briefly snuck its little head out.
There it is. Okay. Okey doke.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of build on some of this review and build on some of the things that Sal presented to us, which was, I think, what, 2 months ago?
Yep.
So if you go in, yeah, the next slide, so incorporating sustainability. What is sustainability? So we're all on the same page. So Zell described it as able to last, this is from my notes, so it may not be verbatim, but able to last a long time. Use of resources you have will be available for a long time and doesn't prevent future generations from using them. So there's an EPA definition, National Environmental Policy committed to the US to sustainability, declaring it a national policy to create and maintain conditions under which humans and nature can exist in productive harmony that permit fulfilling the social, economic, and other requirements. I added the brackets environment of present and future generations. And then the UN definition is sustainability consists of fulfilling the needs of current generations without compromising the needs of future generations, while ensuring a balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. So you'll often hear the 3 pillars of sustainability, community, economy, and environment. So those, when I first sent the thing out quite a while ago about POCD, I had like a rating system for sustainable practices on those 3 pillars, which might have been a little bit confusing, but this is kind of the framework.
All right. Does
That I
Megan
currently
have a
have.
definition for the town?
I would assume she would.
Okay,
But-
that would be good
but-
to know.
We need. I'd
Do I
like,
have it on top of my head? No.
I would hope you would have. Come on. All right, so I would like to kind of line up to see how that, yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, so the next slide. This is just from, again, Sal's talk. So global warming
Come on,
Um,
slide, let's go. Here we go.
refers to heating up of the atmosphere. Oh, don't go fast.
Which one? All right, did too much? No.
No,
That
no
one?
one, just
Yeah.
one slide. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, global warming refers to heating up of the atmosphere and oceans. Global warming causes climate change. So I'm just going to kind of outline some things here. There are natural variations of warming and cooling periods. Global temperatures since the Industrial Revolution have steadily and have increased steadily and with a sharp upturn. So Sal mentioned this, the hockey stick graph, and that's what that is on the bottom. That's an older version, one that the original description of the hockey stick graph. If you add on the data since 2003, it's even much more apparent. The accelerated pace of warming is due to the burning of fossil fuels, so coal, oil, and gas. Okay, so some of the challenges with sustainability and climate change. The pace of change, climate change, is slow. And so the need for planning is long-term, which is not easy. That's not something that we're very good at doing. We usually are much more shorter term in planning. We're already starting to see stronger storms, more flooding, increases in sea level rise, etc. Carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels result in greenhouse gas effect. A greenhouse gas effect is the increasing capacity of the atmosphere to retain heat. So natural gas is composed of 86 to 97% methane. And methane is a very potent greenhouse gas and a major contributor to global warming. So the Yale Climate Communications, which I have a link on the bottom, they do a lot of surveys and just asking and getting feedback on perceptions. And so the American public perceives natural gas much more favorably than they do methane, but they're actually the same thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. They also believe natural gas is much less harmful to human health than coal or oil, which again, it's not. Go ahead.
So when you burn natural gas, does the methane change composition or?
Well, keep going.
Okay.
So methane.
Oh, there we go. I'm a good leader.
CH4 has 80 times higher capacity as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. In the first 25 years, it's in the atmosphere. 25 times higher capacity as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide over its lifetime, which is about 100 years. So again, methane is a major contributor to global warming. As I said earlier, natural gas is approximately 90+% methane. 67% of natural gas, this is I should have noted where I got that and when, but at the time I looked this up, it was 67% of natural gas is obtained from fracking. Fracking contaminates, I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of water injected with a whole bunch of chemicals, 50 or more carcinogens being injected into the ground to release natural gas. So it contaminates water, soil, air, and by contaminating water, well, all of these things, it can impact human health. The other thing about methane is that it leaks everywhere. So it's leaking at the fracking, extraction, pipeline, storage, transportation, at your house. And I took a worst case scenario from there's a map up there on the right for Boston. I think it was the Environmental Defense Fund measured different points of where they could detect methane. And you can see Boston's not in great shape. New London had a few spots. There's a recent redo of that, and in a trail where they highlighted where the measurements were made, there still are some methane leaks, right here in New London. Yes,
I think, I don't know if this is what Larry's trying to ask or not, but the distinction between like methane as a gas, but burning methane is different.
when you burn methane,
Right, so
you generate a greenhouse gas that is.
that's not
Which is-
methane though.
Which is what?
When you burn methane,
Oh,
you turn it into
methane
something
itself.
else.
Right. If you're
So,
burning the gas.
When you
natural
burn
gas.
methane, what do you get? So you're comparing methane to coal or whatever, but yes, methane as a gas
Methane as a gas.
is a problem, but
Yeah.
burning natural gas
No,
is
yeah,
a different
no,
issue,
you're
and you
right.
can't compare that to burning oil.
Yeah.
Burning methane produces CO2 and water.
yeah.
Right,
Right,
so
Burning
sorry.
methane
you're getting
produces
CO2,
CO2.
not methane when you
No,
when you
but-
burn natural gas.
But it's a leaking and.
Oh, I'm not, yeah, that's, that
Sorry,
part's
I'm
all
glad you-
true,
No,
but
no,
you don't want to compare
Good.
burning natural gas to burning oil and
No.
burning coal. There's a difference. You're,
no, it's.
you're
a-
not getting
well,
methane back. You're getting more CO2, but you're
Right.
not getting methane.
But there's a lot of methane that's,
There's,
yeah.
the different
Yes.
situation than the
I'm pretty
methane
sure I
that
will
gets
dou-
into the
I will
atmosphere
double check.
and leaks and
Right.
comes from
Like
cows and those kind of
CO2 when
things.
you burn gas.
You burn it,
That's why CO2 when you burn
yeah,
Right.
natural gas.
which is still
I'm
bad for
sorry,
the
yeah.
environment.
Well,
but yes.
Versus the
and
leak.
however,
Yeah,
you get
so it's in
just CO2
combination
and
that you have
Right.
part unburned.
right, but if you burn coal, you get much more junk in the air than just the CO2. And that's why natural gas is considered better than coal or oil for
Quote-
burning.
Quote, cleaner.
It's cleaner because
Well-
what the exhaust from it is just CO2 and water as opposed to all the other stuff. But it's not, that doesn't change this problem.
No,
But
it
it's-
doesn't
you gotta be
change.
careful how you present the
CO2 is still
problem.
CO2,
Right.
yes, no, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't mean to imply that, the burning natural gas would be methane.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's just what it is.
It's
and
what
the
it is.
pro-
So
and the
don't compare it to
problems-
coal and oil
No, I
as
know,
a
but
fuel source.
you need to
Right.
understand
Oh,
that
absolutely.
how much worse it is and that
When it's by
impact
itself, yes.
and how long it lasts in the
It's,
atmosphere. Yeah.
and not saying anything, that's,
Yeah.
yes, all of that's
Yep.
still true.
Yep. So I don't know why that says scuba's there for biogas, but it's supposed to be, oh, that's I don't know what that was supposed to be. It's a typo, other methane sources, so it's usually called renewable biogas and so
Yes.
aerobic, anaerobic digestion. A byproduct or a product thereof is methane. And cows, we know as well.
The biggest
So-
sources, right?
Well, it's actually
Farm animals are the big source.
20%,
big
I
source,
think, of the
yep.
methane comes from
yeah.
our cows, so.
Yep.
Eating
But-
less meat and feeding them seaweed apparently is.
When
good
you
for
look
them.
at anaerobic digestion, there's an end result producing methane. Are you suggesting that all of that anaerobic digested byproduct is going to the atmosphere?
No, but instead of, so anaerobic composting for digestion versus aerobic composting, there's a big difference. And that when you go through anaerobic digestion, what they do is try and capture the gas. There's a big process after that. It's very dirty because there's a lot of other stuff in there. But the facility that in Southbury actually uses the gas to run the
Right.
trucks to get more. Yeah. The thing is, if you're trying to get off of fossil fuels, which is probably going to be, as Zell said, very, very difficult, but why not take the aerobic composting and not generate methane versus taking anaerobic digestion? The other thing that does is it perpetuates the need for natural gas pipelines if you're going to actually use it.
Locally, sewage treatment plants use it. They'll take the solid waste left behind. And the city of Groton had facilities to do that. And the methane they produced,
That's right, there's.
they used to heat the building in the winter.
So that's, at least it's a local
It's
use.
right,
and
right.
it's not
And so
getting
that didn't go out
shipped,
in,
yeah.
right. They
Yep.
did not produce it just to release it,
Right,
but they
right.
produced it.
Well, at
for
least they
purpose.
captured it.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to get rid of
Right.
the solids.
Right.
The waste that's left over. And one is to break it down. And in anaerobic digestion, it does that,
Yeah, so I think in that for sewage is a different case,
right,
right?
right. But there's still leakage.
Yes,
You know,
there's still
so-
leakage even from those sites, yeah.
Supposedly, recently this this COP 23, the international climate meeting. Supposedly they came to an agreement, 49 oil and gas companies came to an agreement. They pledged to substantially try and get methane leaks to near zero by 2030. So, those pledges aren't binding, but at least I believe hopefully there's some consciousness, because that's a huge source of it leaking at the source of the
Yeah.
drilling and stuff.
And the EPA is just tightening methane rules as well. For the COP thing, it's really accountability and who's going to be. Right now, as I understand it, it's self-reporting, but there will be some measure of accountability, whatever that is. I don't know yet. But that's a good point. So that, okay. Okay, propane is another one. So natural gas, just as an FYI, is 3 to 5% propane. And propane is again extracted from fracked gas, which means that you need to frack a lot more natural gas to get propane, 10 to 20 times more to get the same heating factor. So it heats twice the BTUs that natural gas does. So as Zell pointed out, when he was giving his talk a couple months ago, the solution is to switch or transition to green energy such as solar, wind, and hydro. So green energy would be no or minimal CO2 emissions. And then the DEEP had estimates of carbon and dioxide emissions from these different sectors. So transportation is 40%. Buildings, 30%. Electricity, I believe it was consumption and generation, but I would have to check on that, 15%, and then industry and waste, 14%. That was 8 from industry and 6, I believe, from waste. So,
And I have, so
Yeah.
I just, if we're gonna include this, when you talk about green energy, that's only true when it's being used. And we know we talked about this before, but I'm gonna go on the record since you have that in the slide. Oh, yeah, just go to green energy. Solar energy is one of the dirtiest things out there because it needs rare earth minerals that are in countries like that are against US. It create the cost, the environmental cost of making solar panels is huge. It's not clean. It's very, very dirty. And they end up as a waste that are toxic by the time they get it as a waste. So calling them green energy if you're gonna say use that instead, you've got to do the full life cycle, which is
yeah,
really
you
what's
have
really
mentioned that
clean.
before, and I will look into that. I know that at least there's been progress on recycling
Right.
panels.
And
but
I know they're
yeah,
working on
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and plus it's only really good in places that are really sunny.
what was
So
that?
it's only
Just-
good when you get a lot of sun.
Oh, well, yeah, and then you have battery storage, which again.
As
has
with the
the-
batteries are
the mineral.
nasty, right?
Yeah.
So it's
But gas is nasty, oil.
it all,
so-
I'm saying that you have to
No,
compare
no, I
all
know.
of it, not just when you're using it. Gee, isn't that nice and clean?
That
Right,
comment. My understanding is those sound like talking points from a certain political outlet, which I don't want to say who it is, but my understanding is that, when you think about the mining aspect, of course you're mining, but the thing with the rare earths and the elements they need to make the solar panels, they're mined once, whereas oil is mined over and over and over and over. So you might, you know, to power, let's say, a house with fossil fuels, you have to continually mine.
That's why you need to
Yeah.
do the full, that's why you need to do the
Yeah.
life cycle,
Yeah.
because there's
you-
a lot of
Well,
pieces
these
that
questions
aren't
come up,
obvious.
and we
Yeah,
need to be able to
yeah,
answer them.
they're not obvious
Yeah.
what. And if, and yeah, I agree, Kristen, that's true, but if you keep expanding how much you do, then you need to do more and more mining, and the easy stuff is gone, and so now it gets
Well, that's
worse.
What's happened
And,
in
and,
both industries, right?
right,
Both
exactly, that's
sides.
my point.
Yeah.
So it's, you can't just pick that thing and say, oh yeah, we're looking, when you burn it, here's the difference, because it's not just that.
Right.
As they say, it's complicated.
It is
Well, as
complicated.
my husband likes to point out, there's like
Oh.
a million rare earth elements in phones as well.
Well, and that's
So,
the problem,
it
is
is a
that we're
problem.
using those handful of minerals in everything now, every modern thing. And sooner or later, you're gonna have an issue with getting them.
Yep, so
Because they're rare.
Mhm, exactly.
okay, so. So
I
I
think
was,
one of the problems is that, if you're subdividing this thing down, each element of this, then we sort of lose from the big picture what we're trying to accomplish.
I know, it's,
Well,
And,
it's complicated. It just is really complicated. And we have to be careful what we propose.
yes,
and what we
unintended
get behind.
consequences.
Right,
Definitely.
and, you know, if we say we really need to do this, we should be sure that what we're saying is really better for the environment. It needs to be better for the environment. Is it better for the environment? And that's the question. And we need more behind it than just
Well,
that narrow. thing.
Right.
Anyway.
so,
Which, is this your last chart?
Huh?
This is your last chart? This your last chart?
this is now the outline that you had.
Right, oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, because the whole thing gets to all that background information and the complications of it. The thing is, from a POCD point of view,
Right.
what can
right.
the town
Right.
of Groton
Yeah.
do
That's what,
that meaningful is a bad term, that at least helps the cause?
yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't make things
That has some
worse.
positive effect on the
Has a positive
situation.
effect,
On,
yeah.
yeah,
Has a positive effect, you know, whether it's marginal or moderate or significant, I don't know. Which I was kind of
Right.
thinking about how to take all that, well, what do we do with it,
Right,
right? Which is the point of the PLCD, is it's an action-oriented document. It's not a theoretical analysis of the problem statement.
right. That's true.
So, which is you need to have to
right. Keep that
substantiate the
background.
action,
right.
but that's not what goes into POCD. I mean, you put references in there, saying this is, but what's in there is the
Mm.
actionable items.
Right,
So that's not what we're gonna,
right.
okay.
That was more. Yeah, anyway. So what I tried to do is address the sectors, the transportation, building, electricity. Oh, and waste might not be in there. Oh, yeah, it is, I think. Okay, transportation. So transition municipal vehicles to electric cars, trucks, buses, both city and school. Or including school. Install electric chargers, a minimum of level 2. You need fast chargers as well at municipal buildings. Schools, libraries, these are just things that off the top of my head came up, but I'm sure there's a lot of other places. Modernized bus stops. It seems like there's a lot of not so fun places to wait for buses, but and then also improve access throughout the town.
That's a
for-
big one. The access one is huge. Because there is no, if you look at the transportation of bus systems through town, it's very, very limited.
Yeah.
Is it worse
Super-
than it was? Cause
Super limited.
yeah.
So, because we've looked at a lot of that stuff, it's just really limited and it makes it really
Cause
challenging.
CEAT was evaluating what they were doing. I don't know if
I
we
don't think
got,
anything's changed yet, though.
nothing's changed. Okay. And then, okay, complete streets. So Uh, Tom will be working on that piece, so improve walkability, sidewalks and safe bike lanes. Existing buildings, work towards, and again, none of this is tomorrow, you do everything, it's a transition over time. So electrify existing municipal buildings, transition from oil, gas, to electric. Install solar panels or geothermal exchange. So just thinking about the old Fitch Middle School and now the community center. I mean, I have no idea how deep the soil is over in that area, whether you could put geo exchange in, but that might have been an option to do. Heating and cooling, going to air source heat pumps or hot water heat pumps. Hot water to go to hot water heat pumps. Any kitchen facilities, replace gas stoves with induction stoves once the gas stoves have reached their lifetime. Energy audits, fully insulate buildings. Installing rain barrels to collect water for native plants and landscaping. Any new construction of town buildings, follow US Green Build lead guidelines. Energy. So evaluate area for solar farm on existing town-owned property. I know 4 or 5 years ago, there was some talk about the old transfer station.
It was a brief 2 weeks ago at the town council.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw something else come through in another.
And the former director of the DEP is the consultant that's doing it, and he gave him an update on it, and he just wanted to make sure that they're still willing to keep going forward to the next stage of the development, working with Greg Hanover. So that and the council gave him concurrence to continue.
To do what?
To put a solar
field.
field up on top of the at the transfer station area.
You could run it with the methane that's boiling up out of there.
The problem is not that much methane coming out anymore because it's so,
Yeah.
it's
just
capped
been-
so
oh,
long.
Yeah.
So they have to go for 30 years and they're at 22 or something like that right now since capping.
And the amount they have. CLP, Eversource backed out of production of electricity from it
Yeah,
Because it wasn't
a
enough.
number of years ago because of volume.
it's just not there.
Right.
But they do monitor, they have to come in twice
Yeah,
a
no,
year.
I know they got to monitor, it, yeah.
And then I think the city of Groton might be looking to do something similar.
Don't know
I
about the
read that
city,
in
I
the
haven't
newspaper.
keep track of their stuff.
Yeah, it just happened to see it in the newspaper. Install solar panels on municipal buildings, solar parking lot canopies. It generates energy and also keeps your car cool. Groton really had a missed opportunity with all the new schools that were built. There's no solar on any of them, as far as I'm aware. Okay. There's an example from
There
years.
is in the middle school.
Are you sure?
The middle school I thought was prepped for it, but I don't think. the
That's,
solar
I
panels are
think-
on.
I thought,
I think
They're in
they
the
agreed
process
to
of
put 2
evaluating it.
on or something
I thought
as
that,
for show.
pardon?
That's what we were, yeah, they agreed to put a couple on
Oh,
as a teaching element, but not
Um,
to actually generate enough energy to do anything.
I think
Or-
they went ahead and they had the money. So the infrastructure was in place supposedly
I think they did do that.
to put it. But they didn't actually move ahead with the panels. The board was challenged to say, could you review this? And which they did, and then they said they'd go ahead and do it. My question is, I believe that it's only 1/3 of the roof. So when you look at the structure, there are 2 roofs. There's one that's slanted facing south. And then I'm not quite sure what the second one is of the bigger structure. That they totally missed, or
Or they haven't.
they
put
haven't
any
done it.
infrastructure.
And
Or may
I
not.
sat on a workshop here with the town's representative on the building of the school and not supporting going to solar because in the wintertime, the amount of electricity produced would be minimum. He played it down.
Yeah.
And but they still went ahead anyway. And because they were gonna monitor it and then the kids can collect the data from it on daily basis at the school. So it wasn't educational component in the new school plan. But if it's only 1/3 of the roof,
Right,
that's not much of an impact.
right.
And
Right.
why didn't they? So,
Yeah, so missed opportunity.
Right.
And I have a Reed School example here. That was a brand new school that was built in Newtown, Connecticut. And they, with the funds and help from the Green Bank, put on solar panels, and the calculation of savings over 20 or 25 years is over $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Consider district heating and cooling systems using geo exchange, solar microgrids, especially in new developments, or for, in this case, when you're thinking about municipal buildings that are in a reasonable area where they could be connected, like a solar microgrid or community solar, sometimes referred to. This is probably in the wrong spot, but I did put, there is a community in Colchester, White Oaks, I believe it's called, and it's all electric. And there's a really fun video, if I can find the link again.
I visited that place. It's a combination of solar geothermal.
Yeah, yep.
I've been to the homes and went to
Yeah,
their open
and
house.
it's great. They don't have any overhead wires. Is that the right name? White Oaks, I
Right,
believe,
yes, it
right?
is.
Colchester. And if I can find the video, they had some interviews of people that, paid back the mortgage in incredibly from the savings of energy costs. Land, again, this is not extensive and doesn't really address the coastal resilience piece that I think Ray, you were working on, but minimize pavers, just pavement, and use pervious pavers, just like we heard from Megan and Michelle, and low impact development principles, composting and recycling, minimize waste. Town-owned coastal properties, evaluate for vulnerability, plant native grasses, no new structures, community gardens. I don't know, do we have any
Yep.
here? We do.
Yep, over by the
Knowing school has community.
no
gardens.
school.
yeah,
Oh,
knowing
knowing
school, but
school.
also
Yeah.
in Quanah Bridge, but next to the treatment facility. The
Oh.
town properties there,
yeah.
and they're looking to expand
That's
too.
right. Where the voter registration bill.
Yeah.
The Human
Right,
Services
Human
Services
services,
building
thing, that's what I was thinking, human
Okay.
services, yep.
behind that.
Tree planting programs, rainwater management, erosion. Encourage local food and farmers, provide space and access, access to green space. Planning for sea level rise, as sewer stations are a lot of them are in the floodplain. And I know Groton's already been thinking a lot about some of these things. I just wanted to capture.
Yeah, a whole
whatever.
study's been done about that, so they're looking for funding for it, so. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So evaluate coastal properties for protection and resilience. And one of the things was allowing for migration of tidal marshes to come inland. Zoning and regs, just kind of more of the same, but just not incorporating it in the regulations and zoning.
You've been going down this laundry list, but have you taken this list and compared it to what's in the climate leader requirements for climate leader designation under sustainable CT?
No, because I was trying to. I didn't want to be restrained by by that, but
No, I'm saying, but you've got all this stuff here. How much of this would cross over? That's, I guess.
Oh, I suspect a lot of it.
Yeah, because I'm reading,
Yeah.
I've got the list here in front of me
Oh.
and I'm going through it. It's like
Okay.
90%
Oh, good.
what you're saying.
Wow.
I mean, Megan's been looking at that
Yeah.
too. But it's, this is a,
I think
It's a lot.
Sustainable Connecticut has done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they update it frequently. Yeah, so the next slide just has, again, town commissions could think about incorporating sustainable practices.
Next slide, Larry,
I'm sorry?
right? You want the next slide?
Is
Oh,
that-
there it is.
Yeah, oh,
No,
wrong way,
there-
that
there.
way. Schools could teach and learn sustainable practices and why it's important, encourage student participation through field trips and sustainable action. So there's quite a few schools that the kids have actually implemented composting and like a vegetable garden at their school. Funding sources, so the Green Bank has a number of funding at levels of residential, community, and municipal. There are lots of funds available from IRA and the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. I just looked up what the current budget was in 2023 for the town for utilities, fuel, and mileage. It was 1.5 million. 1.4, yeah, it's and it's almost 1.6 million in the 2024. I couldn't get the breakdown to see how much was actually on energy costs, but again, you have that a chance, you have to make the investment to get the payback, but that might help. And then a really good resource is Rewiring America. They have a really nice savings calculator, and it's at all levels, again, residential, community, and municipal. So that's all I had, I think. Sorry.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I think there's a lot of information there, and the real key to this is, as we said before, the actions for the town at a practical level.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff we can't affect. I mean, we can't change fracking regulations in the country. We don't have fracking in Connecticut that I know of.
No
Um,
fracking in Connecticut.
Yeah, well, we got no sand. It's all
Right,
rock,
all around.
which means it's not really great for geothermal either, because you can't
Right.
get
Right.
down there.
Except they want to take that rock too. There are places in Connecticut that
Oh,
they're fighting right now for zoning regs because they want to remove a hill. That's
In
all
Ledger?
ledge.
That's
Well,
all ledge.
Ledger is one.
right, and then there was one, across the street from our landfill.
Oh,
The property that.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
Goes in the state bought, Tilcon,
oh,
not Tilcon,
Yeah, Tilcon,
Tilcon.
that's a state wildlife management area now, Candlewood Hill.
right, and Candlewood Hill, which is
mm,
Pretty much ledge.
oh,
ledge,
Yeah,
and
ledge too, yeah.
they just
It was
want to come in
mine.
and take about 20 years to
wow.
take it down and out. And the neighbors were upset about trucks and blowing up and
Mm,
all hours of the night a day and so forth. Do it. It's big business.
So what do you propose is next to get it down to a point where we can provide recommendations for the P L C D?
mm,
Specific, not, and there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's one of the college projects suggestions. Right, so
We could ask.
right,
Yeah,
have,
add that.
right,
Yeah.
basically, and it's interesting because as you were, we had it as one of the possible projects, and I'm like, well, you already have this information. It's like, oh, they could take all that information and try recommendations for what the town could actually do with it.
Yeah. Now, remember, we also had the Yukon project, which actually provided equations and algorithms for if I
Right.
invest, if I do this versus this versus this versus this, in
Mm,
terms of converting diesel to gas and
Right.
oil. So there are a number of things lying around.
Right,
that
but
would-
you need that, you need that first, you need that sorting, right?
Yeah, oh, right, yeah.
Because especially if you're talking about, if they're trying to follow sort of the Hartford example and just have high level stuff, I mean, you wouldn't see any of this in
Yeah.
the plan if we went for higher level, right? So
Remember yeah, but we would have that internal, like, yes, that would be part
it would
of
be,
it, yeah.
right, but in the
Yeah.
plan itself
Right.
would just say, makes development
Right.
more sustainable.
Exactly, it would, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is a bit vague.
Of course it will.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, but my point is, well, we're gonna get to the projects, but the part of the answer might be is how we design the student
Right,
project.
well, that's kind of what I was asking, is how do we
Yeah.
get, what steps do we want to do to kind of boil this down and get to some practical solutions, which could actually be addressed? I mean, we all have stuff that wouldn't be great if, but that doesn't help us. Because what things could we actually do?
One thing we may want to consider here is, if this POCD is heading down this more amorphous generic thing, is to consider taking a look at, similar to what we've done for the open space conservation plan, is maybe have a similar type of effort in these other sustainability and kind of the other areas, developing our own more detailed plan as far as, and with the 20 actions that we want to see, if it doesn't get included into the.
Yeah, we may have to
POCD.
do that, actually. Yeah.
Right, is a fallback.
Well, let's not get there yet.
I'm just from a big picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What
no,
you're
no,
saying,
no,
I'm just
no.
trying to address it.
All right,
So
so,
we
I
don't
mean,
lose it.
the kind of question is applies to each one of the sections we got,
Mhm.
which is, we're doing a lot of baseline data gathering, which is good stuff. And recommendations of, gee, wouldn't it be nice if? But getting down to that, so that's level one. The next level is, and maybe we could take maybe one way is to take a shot at having the students take one aspect and see if they could
Right.
boil this down.
See what they come up with.
Yeah, but some of the other sections we have are a bit more straightforward. I mean, even waste management is a bit more straightforward because it's a more constrained item with some very specific actions we could do. This one is,
Yeah.
Right.
It's daunting. Yeah. it's
yeah,
big.
yeah, kind of, you
Yeah.
sit there and you go, oh my God,
Yeah.
so.
Well, even for a project too, I mean,
Yes.
like, to do all of those things I wrote down, transportation, buildings, energy, land,
So they
like.
have to focus.
They have to focus on
Yeah.
one, like, and which one is that, like,
Well,
or maybe
and-
it's one of those, like. and-
Right, which one do we think have the most likelihood of actually doing something, right?
Right.
And then pick that one. And so, which one is the time we're likely to do something with, if we have reasonable suggestions.
Right.
All right, well, I guess we can get to the discussion when we get to your
Yep.
piece of it. So from your, since this is your. One of the, I guess you got two chunks, don't you? So based on this one, think of that, so sure, we're talking what, February for another checkpoint? Because then we'd at least
On
have.
how to prioritize.
Well, yeah, because we would have gone through the
Yeah,
exercise
right.
on are we or are we not gonna get some support? for the
Right,
project.
so, right, January, we work with Jen, she presents us on February, so by the end of February, we'll know what projects they're doing.
Oh, right, because they pick.
They pick.
They
yeah,
pick.
yeah.
We give them the list
And guidance.
and guidance, make it as enticing as possible in the description, which is what we'll talk about tonight. And then they pick. Although sustainability is a big deal with them right now. They've got sustainable
Yes,
stuff over
yeah,
there, so.
yeah.
So I suspect it will be one of the ones they pick, and also the social justice, by the way, which we'll get to, but we don't know. We won't know until the specific students take a look at them and
Now, I mean, let me remind you that we started this early because we knew it was gonna take a long time,
right,
right? So, but you're right, getting the baseline data, good first step. Next step is to reduce,
sort it, yep.
I guess, prioritize and reduce. We gotta think about how to do that. So yeah, so chew on that, we'll chew on
I'll
that.
chew on that,
We'll get the
just have it
kids to chew
prioritized.
on that.
Yeah.
And see what we can come up with by the end of February, with at least some action items to.
Yep.
To do this, I guess. All right, I'm just checking the time because we thought we had time. I guess we.
Yeah, as soon as you say, oh, we have enough time, no, forget it, it's
The
over.
one that said it.
It's
Um,
over.
Then since you're still up, we still had social justice status report. Which was, that was handed out, right?
Yeah.
That was emailed out.
That
That's
was
a big
emailed.
Google.
Oh, that was the big Google thing. Yeah, I did find that here. I got that as a.
And this, I mean, people remember the last presentation, so this is more of an update, right?
Yeah, did you save that? So did you do it in Google or did you do it in PowerPoint?
No, I did it in Keynote, which I don't
But-
have
Oh.
Mac. I only
Oh,
have Mac.
I
online.
converted it.
You converted it? Did it,
Worked the
PDF?
PowerPoint,
did
actually.
it work?
Yeah, but I had to go
Sometimes
through a
it's
couple
weird.
steps. But I was trying to figure out how to do that.
Well, I'd say,
It's on the
but
Google thing, so I pulled it up.
Yeah,
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 right,
you
it
could
came-
down, I have it here.
so
Hold
if you
on.
have it in PowerPoint, because I'm just trying to think of how to, we can't, it's way too large of a file to
Well,
put as
actually,
part of the
someone
agenda
sent
packet.
me a link to where I might be able to get affordable.
Affordable, yeah.
Affordable Microsoft.
But you're gonna,
access.
if Larry can, if he downloaded in PowerPoint, we can save it as a PDF and that'll shrink it down.
Save it as a PDF.
No, I can
And that's how
convert,
I
I
sent
can
it to you.
convert
Yeah.
PDF to PowerPoint. That's what I did.
You.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And
but,
that should shrink it a bunch.
so I can send that to you. Okay.
That's, so
Yeah.
PowerPoint doesn't take as much space though?
PowerPoint
No,
does,
Oh, it does.
PDF.
but then you go from from a PowerPoint to a
It was a
PDF.
46 megabyte.
It was
Yeah.
big. It was big.
And it'll probably, in PDFs, will shrink it down sometimes almost 90%.
Oh, geez.
So
It's
it's
all the pasted.
pretty
graphics.
significant and we can, and I don't have it in my program, but we have it that we can actually shrink it further, you know,
Okay.
because you're not using. If it's.
It's a high resolution graphic.
Right,
whether
yeah,
it's
exactly.
you don't need
That's
that.
what
page
you
or
know.
for presentation.
Exactly, yep.
I have that capability, but.
They compress the graphics. and-
Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, but
Oh,
I don't know if
here
you
we
want
go.
to spend
Okay.
a quick minute on
so-
this.
Yeah, and would love some feedback on more ideas on the analysis piece especially, so. So again, this is an update from I did with, that I. Did, oh, I hate to even say it, was it really February of 2020?
Yeah, it was.
That's because I was gone most.
Don't
of the year.
forget, don't say that. It's all
Okay,
right.
so. It's the overview, reviewing census tracks and data for Groton. Demographics, including race and income. National Recreation and Park Association and social justice criteria. So this is the major shift, which was very helpful. Tom did the ratings. This is what we had in our open space document. So it makes sense that we analyze and look at the properties that fall under the National Recreation and the Park Association description. So I started calling it open/public green spaces. I wasn't sure what the proper terminology should be. Anyway. Let's see, a comparison across the tracks and access to public space. Okay, so this is the visualization of the income data. It looks slightly different than last time. I don't think I had all of the 2020 data. So you can see the lower income tracks are, the lowest income tract is 2025, which is in the mid section of the city. The darker orange red, and then 2024 and 28 are.
You're saying it's a 70, right? I mean, that was.
Yeah, he's just doing the last two digits.
I'm just
Oh.
doing,
Yeah.
702, yeah.
Well, it's 2024, but it's just.
I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
It's
70/24.
70/24. And then 70/28. And then it jumps up that's actually light blue, believe it or not, 2027, 2023, and 8702. The ones on the bottom there are hard to see. So Groton Long Point.
But they're all in the high income categories.
They're all in the high income categories, yeah, so 2026, that's the Eastern
They-
Point. Part of the city, so it has a very large, diverse population with respect to income. And then 2029 is Groton Long Point, I believe, and 70-30 is the Mystic in that area. And then 70-21 is kind of a mid-range.
yeah, the colors don't-
The
it's hard
colors
to-
don't match up.
Don't
this
match up that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next slide is just a visualization of race data. So I just looked at people of color, which is all non-white and white population, just to simplify. And if we need to dig deeper into the data, that's easy to do. So you can see that it's areas like 70, 26 are heavily a larger population of white, and over in the Mystic area, etc. And then so it's at least it gives you a feel for what the different tracks look like. And then the next slide are the criteria that we had in the open space and are from National Recreation and Parks Association. So these are the 5 essential elements for public spaces to ensure social equity, accessibility, specificity, authenticity, adaptability, and functionality. So Tom rated them. The next slide. I'm not going to go through each one of those. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look at that. So Tom rated them high, medium, low, or not rated for those 5 criteria. Small parcels or parcels that were private were excluded. Parcels with ratings of medium or high in at least 3 categories were included in this analysis. And then the census data was used to understand the access to open space and parks for all income and race groups. And we also, I think you did a quick analysis as well with Noah.
Yeah.
On nearest open space and distance to open space. So we don't need to go through all of these, but these are the tracks. And you can see, just flip through them. The next one, 70-23 had no properties at all. That's that upper left track. Whereas 70-28 has an enormous list, over 1,000 acres. Okay, so the next few tracks are listed on the next page, and the next one is a visualization of that. And I used the map that also shows the areas of development because I thought that it was helpful for me. You can see in the city on the left that it is heavily developed. Each of the outlined properties correspond to the properties that were listed under those in those previous slides. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. So this is a summary of the census tract information. So what's new here is that I added the NARPA, the number of parcels in each of the tracts and the number of acres that corresponded to.
Laura,
then
can you
I-
pull that one up? That one's just really hard. to
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I think so.
Here, let me get rid of us too. Hold on.
Minimize.
Come on.
Can you move it to the right? Oh, yeah. Oh, you
That's
don't
good.
even really need to. Okay, yeah. So on the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So the number of parcels, the number of acres for a total number of acres in each of the census tracts. Then I use the white population and the people of color population to calculate the number of people per NARPA acre. I'm trying to figure out what a way to look at this. So please give me feedback and we can look at some of and then acres of, oh, yeah, then I also just had the percent of total acres that were corresponded to the what I'm calling the NARPA acres. So you can see that long list in 7028 corresponded to 32% of the land. Okay, so now just trying to try to graph this. So the left graph is that graph with number of people per NARPA acre in each of the different census tracts. And I did it for the white population and people of color population. So green, people of color, blue is white.
And this tells me what?
And it tells you that there's so when you look on a population basis, there's in that tract, they have equal access, if you will, to what was in that tract, I think. So it's not like white people are getting access to more acreage. I don't know if it's the right thing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. What I didn't put in this graph, which right before I came over here, I realized it would be nice to have the whole ratio for the town. And that's 70-30. So if you look at all the people and all the acres, well, all the entire white population, the entire people of color population divided by the entire acreage, it's 70-30. Was that NARPA? I'll have to look. But what other?
So
Okay, then I added in poverty, people in poverty, and that's the right hand graph. Yep.
So I'm, I don't know if to say confused or concerned, but the whole concept of separating out white people versus people of color, social justice has to do with, is it just people of color we care about? I mean, or is it the people, all people having access and
Yeah,
separating out? I mean, there's a lot of people of color that are really high income and well off. There's a lot of white people that aren't. So I don't understand the whole racial breakdown unless that's the definition of social justice.
is it economic or is
It's
it?
more economic, right?
or
So this is social justice that's presented, like other people, when they talk about social justice, are they talking about race?
There's a racial component in there.
It's multiple concepts.
Yeah.
You're looking at, this is what we discussed, it's actually in our open space plan, it talks about it, there's a poverty level, and then there's a racial component, they both
Yeah.
get to take a look at it from both.
So that is the
Yes, yes.
definition to look at it that way.
From both viewpoints.
Okay.
My more concern is if you go to the chart above it, which I think is actually more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
When you actually look at these numbers and start comparing it. So like if you let's look at the city and with the total understanding that the city's really developed, right?
Yes.
But the Conservation Commission, correct me if I'm wrong, has a goal of 30% open space, correct? Each one of those three segments, now I understand 2 are below or right around 50, one's below 50,000, one's just above and one's high, right?
Yeah.
Each of those, if you look at the total acres, 8%, 8%, 10%. Right? So the city, and again, understood that the city is developed, that basically well, it's not even a third,
60% less of what you want overall in the town is not even available in the city there. Again, it's overdeveloped, but that's also where the lower income populations are and whatnot. So that's like, and I understand you're not gonna come in there and preserve 100 acres, but what it shows me is that maybe one of the things to look at the city, and I know we're the town, is that maybe there needs to be more pocket parks that are available to everyone to increase that numbers, to increase the opportunity for open space.
So
within that
one
area.
thing I didn't get to yet was this half-mile or 10-minute walk.
Yep.
Accessibility,
Right.
and the analysis shows that it's doable
Okay.
in the city now
That-
with
yeah,
this.
That's what I was gonna say, is it accessibility? Because if you ask the people.
Right.
Would you rather have a pocket park? Or would you rather have better access to get to a real park?
Right. Yeah, right. No, I agree with
Which
that.
would you prefer?
Well, I also then it goes back to the sustainability question we were talking about before about transportation. And if
Right.
someone who lives in the city can't take a bus down to,
No,
name it,
I
Bluff
agree.
Point,
To Bluff
Wolfbrook,
Point
any
to
of
go
those,
hiking.
I
then it's
agree.
not,
Yeah.
you know,
I
it's
agree.
not accessible for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that says, but if you're saying what is the desired outcome, then maybe the answer is transportation, not
It could be.
necessarily pocket parks.
But yeah, it could be. I mean, I think you'd really have to look at the walkability and, or even the transportation, if the transportation opportunities within each of those areas there.
Okay, so kind of where, oh, let's see, you had a couple
Oh,
more, Jeff?
well, no, there's, I left in a couple slides from the previous presentation.
That one's
just-
confusing. I gotta tell you, that chart there, that last one,
Which one?
the one right before this. And maybe it's just, I don't understand the
Hmm.
the one we were looking at before, prior to, or that comes right after
This one?
that one.
What
Just
did
from
he
the
get?
standpoint,
Jeez,
we're trying to
not
understand
moving.
what exactly it's trying to say, and maybe it's because the axes weren't labeled well.
Oh, yeah. I can fix that. So I was trying to see if the people that live in those census tracts by race, so on the left, had access to, because the population is different, right, between the different races in the different census tracts. And so it looks pretty equal if you look at 725, which is, turns out to be one of the, you know, this number and that, the bars are pretty much the same. And it seemed like in the 24, the ones that,
It's hard to associate where the, like, just the numbers are
well,
really
it
tough.
was more equal, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a good.
What's the x-axis on the?
And they're different.
It's
That's the thing. I'm
people
looking, I'm
pay-
trying to compare them across. Like if
The
you
number
have,
of people?
Oh, well, actually with the number of, no, it's number of people, but why is that one so big? Oh, it's just actual. Yeah, so that's actual population, I think,
That's population per acre.
per bar. And so that's what makes it hard to read. What I'll do is put the numbers in the bars.
okay.
But
yeah,
I guess my
I-
question goes back to what Michelle brought up before. So there's 3 categories of people?
No. So these are number of people, so just population,
Right,
so.
but you have in poverty, those are included in some of those other colors though, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you don't know which.
Well.
I mean, no, no. No, no, the census data doesn't tell you which people, that's my problem.
That's
No,
what I'm
it's
saying.
not a problem.
That's the problem.
Because it's still, it's that part of that population. It makes it,
to meld the two together?
well, again, the ones with the highest poverty number are the ones you want to look at. I know, I don't know. I had trouble wrapping my head about how to get it all.
I think you've done some misrepresentation.
It could be, that's why I
okay.
want feedback.
Okay.
Well, eventually. What do you want us to walk away with at the end?
Thank you.
When you
That's what I was
look at
trying to
this? One of the
figure out,
things
yep.
I was thinking early on, one of our earlier meetings, and you were diving into this. Was looking at tree cover
That's a
versus
separate-
neighborhoods.
Yes,
And without, and then you would relate perhaps to maybe, economics. Throw that in there a little bit to demonstrate more trees, fewer people, but higher economic versus that. Where we, as you're grasping on this, I'm not quite sure with all these census tracts,
Yeah,
because
I mean,
it's,
I didn't summarize what I thought I was possibly learning from this.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I think we gotta start
because
there.
this-
Again, you got a lot of raw data
Yeah,
and you gotta get back to what are you trying to extract? If it's, is it accessibility? You know, what's everyone's accessibility? Either by,
accessibility, and in which case. Noah and Tom were able to assess at least, did you do it everywhere or just in the city?
No, as far as for making I don't, which assessment are you talking
Oh,
about?
the half mile,
Oh, the half mile, no,
or
that-
did you just look at the tracks that were
just cause tracks of interest.
tracks of interest? That's what I
Right.
thought. Yeah,
those tracks of the census that you're constantly
so
referring
maybe
back
we
to.
focus just on those tracks and do the analysis.
What were the defining issue to make a track?
The
The census,
census,
Department of
This-
Commerce does that.
yeah,
US Department of
Congress
Commerce
does
says these are the census tracts. And it's nationwide. Everybody's got a census tract assigned to them.
What is it, when you look at it, it's not
go back.
square.
No, it's not.
No,
They're all amoebas.
it's a certain
So,
number of
so
people.
are they trying, is it
It's a
much like,
certain population.
is it like voting districts where they're trying to balance each
Yes.
district has a roughly the same number of people?
It is a
It
number.
could be a
of
larger
people.
geographic area in order to get the number of people.
It is population and it is, but the range is quite high. Because you'll see populations here ranging from,
But they're fairly, like,
Yeah,
the
35
lowest is
Except
23.
for-
35 to 56.
except for
Well, 1,000.
21, which has.
1,000.
It also has to do
But-
with distance, right? Because
Oh,
I'm putting my census enumerator hat on that I was for the 2020 census. And and you go from each one of these census. There's another layer of below, there's 2 layers below this, okay, in regard to how they track this thing. And where they get addresses from, because it's all address based. How many addresses you're gonna get, it's not really people, it's addresses. Because that's how they've morphed this
Oh,
off to,
addresses.
is by
Oh.
addresses, because that's what you're going in. And so we now go to that address, I can contact them of 3 ways. One is by internet, one is by mail, and one is by physical knock on the door. To go find out who's at that address. So it's the number of addresses, that's not necessarily people, so you can have. That's where you run into where there's, apartment complexes where you get a
Right.
spike of people.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's all totally address based.
okay, so access, do we agree that's what the major thing here?
I think from our perspective
perspective,
is,
yeah,
is to
was
get the
access.
maximum access of everyone to open space. I think that's kind of where we were.
That's one area, but I think
Right.
Bray brings up a very good one in regard to, one of the things about environmental social justice here has to have some census blocks been dumped on, relatively speaking, with actions by the city or by development, where that they get a disproportionate amount of the sewage treatment plants, the lack of tree canopy, because there's so many developments, it's all, those are the kind of things we need to be taking a look at.
Yeah, but remember, as a conservation commission, tree canopy makes sense. Access to open space makes sense.
We can't-
Placement of waste management, I don't think is
And
necessarily.
it's a
not
development
controversial.
issue, though.
It's a development. I
Yeah.
don't disagree.
I'm just giving you examples of what
Yeah.
things you're supposed to take a look at from a social justice
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, well, but we're not doing social justice
For
large.
everything, we're focusing on the
On the
conservation.
conservation aspect.
aspect
So
of
maybe
it.
that's kind of go back and say, what's our focus again? And if it's, I think the 2 we just heard was tree
Access.
canopy and access. If that's the focus practically for us, not necessarily, like I said, social justice writ large,
Right,
does that make it easier to sort the data and and present information that says we've got this amount of the population is ill-served because they've got to travel twice as long, or takes them twice as long to get to, a walkable trail. Or whatever.
Well, see, that kind of goes back to, again, the quality of that open space. That's when we
Yes.
went to the NEPA is, are there good quality green spaces in the low poverty areas and
That was the
in
question
the
that we
mixed,
were
right?
trying
That's
to-
really the question that's
Yeah.
trying to be mixed up. And that's kind of we gave the ratings and stuff. And that's we need to kind of take a look at the high NEPA areas and how those matched up. So that's when you find a 0 NEPA rated areas, it's kind of
That's a
surprising. That's the problem that we have.
Yeah.
If that particular census block meets the criteria that we should be worrying about it. But if there's a threshold, that's the kind they really just look at the bottom range of these and that's really from a true poverty perspective. There's only 2 census blocks in the town that we really should be concerned about. One is down in Midway and the other one is over in Branford.
And
the
maybe
city.
that should be the focus. I mean, if you go through
Well,
analysis,
that's
and
what I mean.
you
So
get-
if we just
again, get it down
concentrate-
to,
Yeah, concentrate on the,
and
Rather
then what
than trying
actions
to
we take
talk-
for those
Yeah,
two.
because you're wasting a lot of effort saying that, we've got a lot of other good stuff. We've got a lot of good stuff and that's expected and that's fine, but that's not addressing the social justice issue.
Yeah.
right,
All right, does that help?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll see what I come up with next.
All right. In the interest of time.
It's not 8 o'clock yet.
Oh, Michelle is a 7 o'clock person.
Oh, you got
Okay.
10 minutes to.
So, no, we appreciate, all the work there. These are tough things, so. Again, it does take some time. I just wanted to point out that there's a December 6th meeting. Since we're still on PLCD, from the waste management point of view. That SCARA meeting that we talked about. That's been scheduled now for the 6th of December.
This one.
Yeah, so I
Is
did
that-
finally get an invite,
I'm glad you got one. I
When did you get
kind
the
of-
invite?
like 2 days ago, because I went and kept asking. And they finally sent it to me. Now, the thing is, we gotta be careful. We can't have more than 3 people show up anyway to meet the.
There's a Zoom.
You have 3
option.
supposedly,
Well, there's a Zoom option too, apparently, because
Yeah,
I'm
but how
gonna
to-
be online.
but
Oh, you can be online?
that's still a quorum issue.
Yeah,
No, but you
Oh.
could go, you
Oh.
could go as yourself. You're not necessarily representing
I
the
was actually
Conservation
gonna be
Commission. I mean, I think if
representing
people
the
are
group.
interested, you can go as public without an invitation.
all right, so
Honestly,
Kristen, were you,
but-
I mean, I had sent the. date
I'm
for you-
intending to attend by Zoom. I can't be there in person, but I'm
Okay.
intending to,
All right, I was gonna attend in person. So I think we're okay, if I'm the only one attending in person. And I can't talk, the Zoom is for view only, you can't dialogue or anything.
There's no dialogue?
Where is it me?
Niantic,
I was wondering what happened to it.
yeah, well, that's, I kept asking, so I actually did, got it like it was like. Yeah, Friday, I finally said, what? And I did get it, and I did get their presentation,
Oh, you did?
which
Wow,
I just got. I didn't have time to get it into this
We
form.
didn't get that.
So what I'll do is
You
I
didn't get the
will,
lunch invitation.
I will provide it
No,
for the January meeting.
we're not invited to lunch
I don't even think I sent it. to you.
I mean,
didn't send
I'm
it.
not
No,
with
okay, I
the
sent it
other
to Kristen.
organization.
send it to
Um,
me.
We don't represent
So
the
let
town.
me send Skara to Dave, and we can discuss what happened at that meeting
In
at our
January.
January session.
Yep.
Right. All right, so that's. Actually, the presentation has a lot of the stuff that they've already presented,
Ah,
and I was looking for something more.
Thank you.
Detailed. And I said, well, maybe they'll talk about it because it wasn't in the presentation deck. So we'll see.
Well, I think the big thing on their presentation is, did they finally decide on the site
Oh, for the composting?
for the composting?
They did,
They were going to do the site they already own.
yeah,
next To
I-
the Preston Trash to Energy.
Yeah.
plant. So.
And they had
at
a
the
picture
bottom
of it.
the-
Yeah.
If there is a hill, where the trucks go up, so the advantage is when they own it too. Already used to truck traffic, because they're going up to the waste energy plant, and it was enough acreage.
Is it on the same, off the same road? Where the trucks go in?
I think, I'm picturing like a property like this where the trucks went, is it up on a hill? The trucks, I don't know why I have this idea that.
Well,
it goes-
it's on the same bluff that
Yeah.
the.
It's not in the presentation.
The Norwich State Hospital, that whole area, and then it drops off to the Thames River. So
Oh,
I'm trying to think of if. What's piece of
Where
property
it
they,
is.
25 acres they have, but let's say, next to the. Puts them right there on the edge of the river.
right.
All right, well, we will address this in January and maybe they'll
it's-
say
it's
more
about-
things than was in the handout presentation, because there was very little in terms of actions. It was more in terms of problem statements, which we've kind of saw. And I was looking for,
Mm.
again, the actions. What are you guys gonna do? Anywho, let me get back to. All right, moving along, 4.4 budget support. We're continuing to work with Mark Berry on the draft of CIP. Have you heard anything from Mark?
I haven't, Mark, I sent a thing to Mark and he said we're working on it and that's about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be January. We'll do a push in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of what they were saying. Vacant land support. We did have a public, the TOPE committee, of which I am your representative. We did have a public meeting on the Butler School on 10/15. And there was more than 75 people showed up.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
a lot of interest. So the quick summary, 23 gave statements, including. Mr.
I gave a
Olson.
statement,
Gave a
I
statement.
did identify myself as a Conservation Commission. And my recommendation to them was that they should be supportive of what the Groton Housing Authority requested of them. Because Mr. Frink from the chair of the Groton Housing Authority put in a request that they be given a consideration for development of with a combination of school reuse slant new construction of the 9-acre parcel. Because it's totally surrounded by
Like,
residential areas and there's already established street traffic because of the way the school is developed. And I would say generally I listened in on all I was the first one up, but the rest of the general trend of it was, we don't want businesses in here, but there's one lawyer did come in saying that he has an interested client but
For development. now,
for
it wasn't
development,
For commercial development, it was for developing
some reuse, a reuse.
reuse of the building and partial, some
but-
other things.
But there was some commercial aspect to it, potentially. It was very vague.
It was vague, it was vague. So that was one guy. said
One
he
guy
was
out of
interested.
the 70 that
Now,
talked.
and he was on Zoom. Now, my take, the overwhelming majority wanted a local park, and I put it in quotes. Not a pocket park, because it was a bit more area where they can do the walks and things, and similar to what you're doing today, to maintain the use of that space that they've been using for decades. And they are willing to have property for housing to match the neighborhood. So that was that. They didn't want, some folks said, well, I don't want cottage because their view of cottage doesn't match what they've got. I'm sure they wouldn't go for a high density high rise. So, but there's a willingness to say, hey, there should be a level of it to be developed, but we want to have a substantial report to remain open space. And again, I'll put the quotes, open space for parks and use and recreation.
And there was one other a couple of the people noted that there's a potential for restrictions on the parcel. And I went into the day after I went into the vault, and because I'm tight with Mr. Melendez in there. And and she had already been tasked by Mr. Bird to come up with, get the copy of the deeds and what restrictions there are. And there's really the problem is that parcel was taken by eminent domain by the town. for use as a school. So now you get into a legal things when this town's no longer using it, what happens for the intended and eminent domain take?
Well, but it was foreclosure, not just,
Well, it was it was, there's a league, there, see, someone challenged them, so they ended up in court it got written up as a decision, a court decision. In regard to how that the town was given the property. And
there's
so
some messiness there.
it's gonna take some lawyers getting involved.
I was
here.
gonna say, I'm not used to hearing that change from eminent domain into a school. They don't want it to be a school anymore.
Yeah, what do you do now?
Right,
Yeah.
and it's because the town took it, in a sense, it's still theirs.
Yeah. But you take a look at what's
the-
happening over in New London, the
the-
town took the little pink house.
a little pink out, went up to the Supreme Court. So,
Yeah,
so it gets dicey. We are not gonna resolve it here, other than there's a lot of interest. It seems like there's certainly a willingness for the community to have some compromises and have both in there. We'll see how it develops. There's another 4 public sessions now that if I count it up, by the time we get through this process. So much more to come. But there was a lot of interest, and the process is
Well,
moving forward.
when you're sitting there and you're listening to the public coming in. I'm sure there's a diversity of proposals. Does your group then sit down and put these proposals in baskets, if you will? And then how do you move from there?
That was the 2023 TOP or process, not the 2021 TOP process, which was approved by the town council. So it goes back to staff. And then the staff takes it through the process, and then a different group, the PRUC, goes to look at it. So it's not. How do I politely say this? It's still a little bit messy and not necessarily as transparent as we originally wanted. More transparent than what we had.
Right.
So it's progress in the right direction. And I think with the visibility on it, and plus we got a new town council, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. So this will be an interesting trial balloon, putting aside the legal issues. It'll be an interesting trial balloon on how the process moves forward and what the recommendation would be. I've been lobbying that regardless of what the process says, we come out with a recommendation anyway. They can choose to ignore it, but why not? Right? There's nothing that precludes us from doing it. It's just not part of the process. So anyway, that's my personal view representing the Conservation Commission. Okay, that's that. And guess what we're to? 4.6, the College project. Whoopie-doo. Okay, so that was handed out.
All right, so it's in the agenda. Don't want to go into detail tonight, but I wanted to point out what I did and what I would like from the people here. So we had 6 projects that we picked. I took the version of the document that Jen gave to the students. So we're creating, this is the format that she had for them with the information. Kristen, is the April 20th this year for the Earth Day?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I mean, oh wait, the 20, I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. I'm
Well, the
assuming,
Saturday is the 20th.
I think so. That sounds about right. I can get back to you.
I just brought up my thing. So the 20th is to be Saturday, right?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
All right, so like for that one, I assigned POCs, and if we can talk about whether we had different assignment, but so obviously, my opinion, obviously that's Kristen. And I'm gonna ask you to, this is basically what we told them last year. I made a little bit of change with being the second year, but maybe based on your experience, you have to have different words there. So you can decide how you want that blurb to look.
I
And-
think what you wrote looked fine to me,
But we don't need to, I don't want to resolve these words tonight. Give me feedback in the next couple of weeks and we'll have the resolved words for the next session.
Can I ask one
Um,
question
Sure.
on that? So the January meeting, is Jennifer coming to that meeting?
Well,
or
she'll be,
it-
we'll call her in on Zoom, probably.
Okay,
You'll have her
all
on
right, so
Zoom, yeah.
these need to be finalized by then? I guess my question is the Jennifer meetings our January meeting or is it a separate meeting?
No, well, she can meet with us in January. It's up to us what we want to do. I mean, as soon as I have the update, I'll work with her and she's putting together her thing to give information to whoever the POCs are, more information about the program. 'cause
It
we
won't
know
be till
that-
our February meeting when
we
we
make the-
get back from
Right.
the college of what
What
ones
they're gonna
they
do,
want to
right.
do.
So the January is
This
still
is
the
all
in
back-
progress, because they won't even be back in school
Okay,
yet. So
alright.
we can decide what we want to do in January.
Okay, all right.
But I'd like to have these firmed up from our perspective for January,
Yes.
whether or not we want to bring Jen in, we'll know when, see what they look like.
Yeah, okay.
So I added the 2 stormwater things based on our meeting with Michelle Maitland, and I have me and her as the contacts for that. Value of stewardship and why it's important. I honestly wasn't sure what we're trying to do here. So I put you as the rep, Tom, because you've done so much, you're an expert. So I don't know what you would want to get out of, if you're the right rep, and if you want, what you want to get out of this.
Well, here again, we still have, because of my hat that I go over to the ECCD back whack people. Whatever effort we can get in the cleanup area is what I'm really looking for.
Okay, so yeah, well, you know how it worked out last year. We tried to get them to do something more higher level and they ended up doing a cleanup, right?
Yeah.
I don't see them doing cleanup as a really valuable
Right.
thing necessarily. So is there something else in stewardship that we could ask them to do? If not, then we might want to take that out of there. So I
I'd
don't have a
recommend
good feel for
at this
this right
point
now.
then taking it out.
Okay, because you don't
Well,
see any
can I
other,
just throw
Yeah.
up something, when I read it, the value of stewardship and why it's important, and I was thinking from the standpoint of a piece of open space with maintained trails.
Mhm.
And if you were to say, the value of stewardship and why it's important, and I picked out two places. One was the comp property. And then the second one is, I call it the Mystic Community Center property. It's up on River Road, north of the oral school. The town owns, and it's an oak forest. Nothing has been done there yet. I mean, it would,
is that echo or is that something else?
Weird.
Oh.
I'm not sure. Echo? That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I was thinking from a standpoint of comparing something that the town now is actively doing to something that's not.
Interesting. There might be something there.
Well, do you want to maybe put that into words that make sense to you and we'll see if we can do it? And it's just, I mean, we need to be more specific with them, I think. And that was one of the things last year, even though to my mind, the whole point is here's some possibilities, you guys come and figure it out, but that didn't work so well. So we may want to be more specific with what we're asking them to do.
Okay, I'll see if I can
Because
do.
last year, just in this area, they were supposed to go off, review the stewardship plans for the open spaces for the Joel property and the abutting areas there. Then come up with, what do we have here, update the stewardship plans for that. And then go and start executing some of the action items. That's
And
the
tell us
goal.
what it's like. I mean, even just with the cleanup,
Yeah.
how would what do you need to do to organize a cleanup? I mean, we got nothing like that from them. So, yeah, it didn't really,
Well, I was told to some degree to kind of be hands off.
right.
And, so I was as hands off
No,
as I
and-
could.
and-
They came to me when they had questions and that type of stuff. And they did reach out to me and I was very,
Right.
I thought overly helpful when I met with them and
Right.
so.
Yeah, and Jen and I talked about this. They didn't really nobody took the lead in their group, like nobody.
Right.
They were all looking for a leader, but none of them became the leader. And so they were,
That's part of
It
the
was
problem.
group grope.
yeah, anyway.
Okay,
So
I mean, but part of the MS4 audit is part of our stewardship plan. So
Right.
there is a,
Oh, yeah, there's definitely connection
th-
there,
yeah.
but we don't, I mean, that
yeah.
is the stuff stewardship, but it's a different. thing.
Okay, no, I'm okay with giving them less options.
And then the next page, sustainability and development process, I have Larry, but it sounds like, maybe you should be the POCs or both of you. But basically I put Larry there because he's kind of the big picture POCD person for us. but again, we've talked about earlier how, so we need to, what would make sense in terms of what we can ask them to do, right? So
Well-
that's something that needs to be developed. And then I added the social justice issues. She can't be, I have no idea what
Yeah.
you were looking for with
Yeah.
that. So you need to figure out
Yeah,
what that
let me,
means.
and
Yeah.
I'll write something up and then, if it doesn't look like it's a doable thing.
Right.
Well,
Okay,
it's something that they could use, one resource is the Arboretum,
yeah.
their
that's
own
true.
Arboretum.
Yeah, yeah,
And then look at downtown New London or something.
Right.
Well,
not New London.
not New
for
London,
us.
sorry.
But
Shame on you.
the point is, we need to have some kind of what
Yes. Oh,
we would,
what the plan is.
something
Oh,
that
yeah,
could
no,
be in
I
a couple
can-
months, what they could accomplish that would
Yeah.
actually give us something useful to work.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I can come up with that, if they're interested.
So that's,
To help you.
Yeah.
Yes.
so that's the plan. So so get back to me
By when?
in the next couple, by 2 weeks before the next, so in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, so.
Because
before-
then you get the
before
holidays and stuff.
Christmas.
Yeah, so then I can sort of run it by Jen and try to have something, figure out what we want to do for the January meeting. We could have Jen available, or it might be still just us again. But what do you guys think? Should we try to have Jen in January, or is it still just us?
Well, how about this? If she wants to query us
Okay,
about what's in there and or have us add or delete or
Okay.
something,
Or
that would make
feedback.
sense. But it's
Okay.
not a decision-making meeting. I think it's more for her that says,
okay.
I'd like more data on some of
Okay,
these
all right.
topics.
All right,
How's
yeah,
that?
so if you have stuff to be in 2 weeks, then I can get together with her and we can figure out what makes sense for her input or not in January. Yeah.
And we're deleting the stewardship one then.
Well, no, Bray's gonna
No,
see if
Bray-
he
Oh,
can
Bray's
come up
gonna-
with something.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Just want to make
You're
sure.
up.
You're getting off the hook, is that?
But yeah, I mean, and if we can't, I mean, we presented them with 6 projects last year, they did 4. I think there's 13 students this year, so we're only gonna be 4 or 5 projects. So if we don't have 6, we don't need to have 6, right?
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm done.
okay. And I will just say for closing the loop, finally got the website updated with the right stuff.
Oh,
So
good.
that's out there. Only took us a year.
This will be better this year.
Yes. So anyway,
We learned a lot of lessons. in a
lessons,
lot of
yes, lessons
ways.
learned, lessons
Well, the
learned.
whole process is a lesson for us.
It is,
because
absolutely.
it's-
Yep.
Yeah, how to format it, how to put it
Yep.
together, and then what to do. with
What,
it.
what to ask for, what to do with the information, how to, yeah.
Yeah.
So wrapping this up, next was the open space stewardship, and I don't think we have anything to discuss on that. And then there's outreach. I don't think we have anything to discuss on that. Then there's new business. Does anyone want to bring up any new business? Which brings us to Dave.
Well, before we go to new business,
Oh.
let's discuss what Ann mentioned before, landscaping regs.
Oh,
And what you guys would like to do for that. So the only thing that happened at the last Planning and Zoning Commission, I don't think any of you went, was just the initial conversation about those landscaping regs that I sent around. So if you have some feedback,
sure.
start putting together notes and,
Okay.
at some point, we're gonna get a referral. And for that, and it would be great. I mean, the helpful part would be to get comments sooner than later. And not wait for when it goes up in, you know what I mean? So like, if there's stuff that you want to
It
add,
wasn't bad. I mean.
I don't think it's
yeah,
bad,
I
no.
don't think it's
No, it's not
bad.
bad. I just had a question how these were picked, because some of them I'm not 100% sure they're.
we
new.
checked them all. Tabitha did this, but I checked them all and there were a couple that we took off there, but all the other ones are all based upon stuff from UConn and everything else as native stuff and what we found.
Okay, I
I mean, you
checked
could-
a few of these and.
Well, it's email, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, provide the feedback,
Yeah.
yeah. But I meant, well, I guess my comments were more not that level of specificity, but the overall approach.
Yeah.
I
oh,
thought
yes,
was good.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're into, yeah, but those specific
Yeah,
species,
that's-
yeah,
yeah.
well, maybe you want to relook at that.
Yeah.
Okay, because it by the way, changes over time too.
It does,
yeah.
you know, and
It
and
does.
it
It-
totally
Yeah.
does,
It's a
and
moving target.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
absolutely, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, that's good. So, yeah,
Sure.
any feedback get to you? Is that?
Yeah, send it to me, unless you wanna do something as a commission. You don't
Nah,
have to, it's fine to, cause
Uh,
I'll just take, I can take into,
yeah.
if you all have comments, I don't care, I'll take them and send them to Tabitha. And she'll work on incorporating them and stuff, so,
okay, they're not asking for any formal input per se,
no.
just any comments that we. might-
Yeah,
Okay.
out of courtesy, we
Okay,
wanna
no.
give you the heads up that this is happening, you know, and obviously you all have. You know, perspectives on the stuff you're involved with, all the levels and stuff like that, so if you have thoughts, it's challenging, like there's a fine line with this, cause you can't make them so stringent
Right.
that then the applicant has to go get a variance for it. Because that doesn't make any sense. It is a fine line to kind of balance and stuff like that between that, so, yeah.
I think, was there a specific definition of native species that you were using? If so, could you send it to me?
I don't know what she eventually was using. I got the list and
Okay,
I cross-reference that with the list I used to use in Rhode Island all the time. And it,
Well, that's Rhode Island.
well, no, it's so close to everything. Oh, geez, I mean, right over the border.
I
come
know.
on.
It changes
I know,
significantly.
it's
Once you
very
pass that
significant,
line.
You know, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, whatever you have, I'll.
it's there.
it's that, I mean, there's just a couple that I have a question about. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
All right, fair enough.
Absolutely.
Okay, what else?
Oh, what else? All right. So
Greater
this,
Groton.
I know we've talked about this. I
Yep.
know Lauren came in. I'm not worried about like this is nothing right now to do with our page. Cause right now, I feel like it's still being developed in some format. Or it's not, and that's totally fine. That being said, how many of you subscribe to Greater Groton? All right, good. Kristen, do you?
Ha,
I saw no while you're on mute. All right, so listen, so as part of the POCDs, because we're coming back around with the POCD, we know we want this a community event. All right, and we want to reach out to the entire community. And we're going to be using Greater Groton as the way to get out. There'll be a POCD page that will be coming sometime soon. It hasn't been developed yet. It's just going to be there's going to be some initial meetings going on. Because what we found is that it's been a very good way to communicate. And it, you know, we're able to do surveys and whatnot, and it's been very helpful, and it's not the end all. I mean, I think a lot of the POCD stuff, as I've mentioned before, we're in the process of looking at in-person meetings, not here, not at the town hall, not in any town building, but in community buildings around town to really make sure that we're reaching out to the entire population to see what they want. Because a lot of stuff, even here, a lot of stuff that we're focusing on may not be a huge focus of the community. And that's the thing. We need to make sure that this is an all-inclusive process, because this is another 10-year process and we want to make sure it's done right. So that being said, for those of you who are not on it, I have these little cards and it's really easy to scan in the back and sign up for it.
What are you
We
putting up
just
on
told
though?
you.
Is it web? Is it Facebook? Is it
It's web.
Instagram?
It's web-based.
It's a web-based.
What do you mean by, so do they send you email like this, subscribe? What do you mean by subscribe? Just.
If
Oh, then what
if
they
there is
do
a
is
new
right.
survey, they will send
they
you.
will
an
send
email.
you,
Then
you get
you'll
no,
know
yeah,
about
they'll
it.
give you a heads up.
And it's not a lot of stuff. It is, you guys can probably, you don't get a huge
No.
amount of stuff from Greater Groton.
No.
Quarterly.
Yeah, and they'll send stuff every now and then about updates about stuff that's going around town and stuff. But I mean, part of it too is we're trying to, I mean, we're thinking about this across the board about not only our commissions, the RTM, you know, different community groups, and trying to get this out here. So if you wouldn't mind signing up, we would appreciate that. If anyone else, can you pass it? Don't worry. I'll just walk around. If anyone else would like some of those flyers, I have them. If you have friends, you can hand them out.
Oh, thank you. We have friends.
Do you have an extra one?
If you have friends.
If you
And we
If
can
you
get
have
obviously
friends.
plenty more.
I don't know if this person is on it or not. Thanks.
No.
I'm sad.
All right, so that's one thing. Second thing is I just got this today. I am not sure how many of you, or if any of you are familiar with Kush, which is a environmental group in the region. They've been
Yes.
around since the end of like a little before 2010.
their cleanup in sounds and harbors. They just came up with a new water quality report that takes all their data from 2008 to 2022.
Oh, wow.
So I can pass this around and take a look. If you would like, I can send you the digital copy of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just send it to
Yeah.
the company. Yeah.
So. And this is part of, they work with Save the Sound. So this is all
Is
the,
most of that, the Mystic River?
it
goes
goes from
farther.
Wickety Quack, which is where they started, to the Mystic River. So they just added some sites and actually haven't been starting to do some testing, more testing down in the area, which is good. Okay,
Queedy quack,
Wickety Quack, Wickety Quack,
wickety quack,
Wickety Quack, yes.
wickety quack.
Wickety
That's the
Quack.
one that failed.
Okay.
That's the one that's yes. That one is not doing well. I did a
Oh,
lot of
that's
work in that
okay. I
area
see,
when I
yeah.
used to work over there, and it's
There's the-
very challenging.
There's the testing.
Is
sites.
it, failed septic systems?
It's bacteria, birds, it's a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
It'll kind of go through
Runoff,
it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, it's algae, it's lack of flushing, it's lots of stuff.
Mm.
So
Okay.
still a challenge. They haven't gotten very further with it. So, but those are the three. Oh, and Tom, I don't know if you know this, but this is more good luck. Not good luck, good information. The land acquisition fund. Oh, Tom, Larry,
You have to.
Larry, I like this too. I know you both will. We just got another in lieu of open space fee for a new subdivision, so that adds an additional 26,800.
Top of the 170.
Yeah, something, yeah.
Oh
So
my
we're almost
God.
up to 200.
It's like
Where's
they
the new
haven't had any
subdivision?
money in this.
This is Hein, this is, it's Hein the one
No,
over.
I
This might be the
think
one
I
on
asked
Allen.
this question before.
Might be the one on Allen. The new one that's going in,
Oh, I thought,
or is
Oh,
that one?
the
I
already-
thought you already got that.
Well, that's another one. No, that's another one then. It's the Hein one. I forget what the, oh no, oh, it's River Road. I know where it is. Sorry, it's River Road. It's all the way up in the northerly part of the state by River Road.
Is it,
There's two
there's,
parts.
there's already, one house in there?
There's one house in that kind of connects all the way in the back, and there's
Yeah.
2 new parcels going in.
Okay,
So that's the one,
Yeah.
sorry. We did the Hein one already.
So
Yeah.
I believe I asked this question before, is that could the statute be stretched for stewardship of the lands, or is it solely, exclusively only to buying?
It's only for buying.
Yeah,
If I
that's
remember
what-
this.
Yeah, I remember that, but
words.
I just,
I'm almost positive.
I have the words, but I don't have them right here.
yeah, I know, because I mean, that's really our issue, is as much stewardship as purchasing. And so,
Well, I mean, the problem is we're still about 300 acres short.
Sure.
Gosa closed on their 89 acres.
oh, they did,
Yeah,
Okay.
on the 15th.
okay.
So they've added 89 to it hasn't processed
So
through.
we're not out
And
of
The
two-
deeds filed, but the GIS hasn't been updated, so I can't do anything to it because it still has to go through the assessor's office and they're still doing their thing there. But it'll be moving. We'll get,
there's another,
we're still we were 425 short to get to 30%. Now we got 89 of that, so it's 3 something or another.
Catalonia has a piece of property that's, off of Sandy Hollow. But it's, the Luba Fish family that owns it, that they're getting it from. And unfortunately, they've spread all across the United States. And 12 families have to sign off on it
Another one of
Another
those.
one of those.
without foreign addresses.
Without.
So they gotta go
address.
find them.
Oh, my gosh.
In order to, I think they've got 9 out of 12. And
Yikes.
Wow.
But I don't think that's how many acres are they on that?
yeah, it's not a big one. Well, it's on both sides of the 95, north
Oh.
and south.
All right, well, good luck to them.
They've been on the great news is, they finally have offered it up as open space.
Mm.
The last time a previous town manager engaged with the family and they were positive to make a very good sale to the town to get it as open space. That town manager decided that Colorado was a better environment for him. So when he left, the whole thing got dropped.
Um,
Yeah.
And they had gone through, the owners had paid to review the whole property to see if there are any housing lots on it. And they came up with eight housing lots, all right up against 95.
95, well, great place to have a house.
Exact-
Yeah.
exact- Well, they're doing it on the other side on Sandy Hollow, so beyond the eye doctor,
Yeah.
they're putting in new houses there. So when they came back with potential 8 different houses, we thought, oh, there goes the price. You know, now they're gonna say we have developable land and it's gonna go up. And they didn't do it. But unfortunately, the energy at that time was the town manager. And things changed after he left. So it's nice to see that Avalonia has now been able to step in and try to move this thing ahead.
Okay.
Anything
That's
else?
all I got.
That's all you
Move
got?
we
Yep.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right, unanimous.
All right.
All right,
Bye,
stop the
Kristen.
recording.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Maybe. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Bye.